Procter & Gamble. So we moved almost every 4 years of my life to different cities and different countries due to the nature of his work. So born in India, we moved to Bangkok for 3 years, moved to Philippines for 3 years, moved to Hong Kong for 2 years. And we moved to Japan, where I spent most of my youth. So I went to middle and high school in Japan. And then from Japan, I decided, there was a small class of 50 students that we had in our high school. And we decided to all actually go to school in the US. So ended up going to college in the States. I went to Purdue University there, and then came back to Guangzhou after working in the States in Chicago for 2 years with HP and Delloite. Came back here because my family was here initially. My dad had moved from Japan to Guangzhou to take on the post of running P&G's office here in Guangzhou, which is where they were headquartered. And when I came back, I just saw tremendous opportunities. Unlike Beijing and Shanghai, which are very saturated markets, Guangzhou literally needed everything. And this was back in, the first time I came here was 2003. And then I actually moved here in 2006. So I've been here a little over 8 years now, 7 years now. Yeah, and I've seen the city grow from almost nothing to having no foreign restaurants and very few foreigners getting stuff on the street and having pictures taken to thriving sort of economy and a very strong domestic market. So and that's when I started a business. I started a few businesses when I first moved here, and then moved into FabriQate in 2008.
That's quite an impressive experience. So, being that international, what are the differences that you made to your view on the world and as compared with your peers?
So I think ever since we were born and ever since we ended up going to school, we were always interacting with individuals from different cultures and individuals with very different beliefs, very different visions and expectations on life. And those expectations were set by their parents, were set by their environment. It gave us a great opportunity to learn working with people and learning with people from very different cultures. So it was a phenomenal learning experience, and it's something that I wouldn't trade for the world. And when I have children, I don't have children now. When I have children, I would love to have them go through a similar process of growing up in international schools, because I think it's just a phenomenal learning experience. It's a phenomenal immersive experience in the cultures from all around the world. And it's up to the individuals on what they want to get out of that.
So you're working on your company called FabriQate. In general terms, your company is making mobile apps for enterprise market. Can you share us what product that you're making and what specific values that your products are bringing on the table?
Okay, so we don't like to be branded as a mobile development company. I think we have worked very hard to try and remove that branding. Not that there's anything wrong with it. It's just pure development is a very fast commoditizing space. And we have worked very hard the last few years to evolve our branding and evolve our positioning into a new area. Today our business is broken up into 4 levels. So level 4 is products and IP, and we have a number of products and IP which we bring to market for a number of our clients as well as for ourselves. Level 3 is strategy and consultancy. Level 2 is user experience and creative, and level 1 is the basic engineering and production that goes behind that. So today we stand essentially and present ourselves as a customer engagement company. Our focus is how we can help convert visitors to customers, and we use digital technology, primarily connected technology, to help convert those customers. So what we do essentially is we look at customer journeys across all of our brand clients, as well as their partners. We look at the pre-sales processes, the sales processes, the after-sales processes, and we understand how we can build out a seamless customer journey across the entire all the customer touch points. Today, if you look at any traditional agency or you look at any company, they leverage, you guys know the word POEM? Paid, own, earn media. Do you guys know what paid media is, owned media is, earned media is? So paid media is something where brands actually spend money to try and get exposure, try and get some sort of awareness. Owned media are platforms that they own, that they build for themselves. So owned media may be their website, it may be their brick and mortar store, it may be anything that they own for themselves. And earned media is the result of that owned media. So the virality of the exposure, the social media presence, the word of mouth that comes out of the owned media. So our primary focus is around owned media. We help brands build the right ownership experiences to tie their customer engagement in a long-term basis, as opposed to running sort of gimmicky campaigns that are very disconnected.
Okay, that's the definition there.
Long definition.
Yeah. And in your company's website, you talk about in-store customer experience. What exactly is this, and can you define this kind of dimension in more detail?
Sure. So when we talk about in-store experiences, a big focus for us is how we can really connect the online and the offline. Being in technology and immersing in technology for so long, I think, at least personally, I have gotten a little tired of technology. I think it's amazing. However, at the same time, I feel consumed by it. I feel like every minute, I want to pick up my phone, I want to pick up my iPad, I want to pick up my laptop, I want to learn about what's going on in the real world, or what's happening. And as a direct result of this addiction, or this hypnosis by technology, we are getting more and more disconnected. So we're almost living in a disconnected, connected world. So we're getting more disconnected from the real world that we live in. And that's scary to me, and it's scary to everyone who works with us, because we believe that's not the real value that technology should bring. Technology should enable, it should support, but it should not allow us to forget about how beautiful, the basics of life are. So our primary focus is how we can connect the real world with the digital world. We call this sort of the real world, so the online and the offline. When we talk about in-store experiences, we see how we can build the right experiences to drive conversions for customers who are walking into stores and used to shopping online. So there's a concept called showrooming, which I don't know if you know about. You know what showrooming is? Showrooming is a concept where traditionally the only way to buy products or services was to go and actually visit a physical outlet, a brick and mortar store. And you go in and you actually talk to a human, and that human would explain to you about this particular product. And in some cases, those explanations were great, some cases those explanations were horrible. But with the advent of sort of digital and more connected devices and connected mediums, consumers moved away from actually buying in store to using stores as showrooms. So they would walk into a store for any particular retailer who spent $1 million to build an outlet, and they would learn about the products in store, but then end up going and buying online. And that does not add any benefit to the retailer who actually built the outlet. So it's a concept called showrooming, which is costing billions of dollars to various retail outlets all around the world. And we have identified that as it's pretty obvious why they're losing money. It's because of the friction that they have created along the process. So today when you go online, you can go onto Google or go anywhere and you can discover products very easily. You can discover various options for products. So if you want to buy a pair of shoes, you can discover multiple price points. You can discover various different styles. You can discover various different colors. When you walk into a store, you don't get that same experience. When you shop online, you could look to buy a particular product and have it delivered to you overnight, or you could buy the latest thing, which would then be delivered to you very quickly. Or maybe you want to walk into a store and just get advice from a sales advisor. In some cases, maybe the sales advisor is not there, or maybe you're looking to buy something quickly and there's a huge line and you don't want to wait in line. So these are all friction points along the way. And that friction makes it hard for you to want to purchase in store as opposed to going online or buying on Weixin or buying through any other types of channels where it's much easier for you to build your, to get what you want in the way that you want it. So our focus is to see how we can change that. How can we change retail outlets to be more successful? How can we drive more conversions in store as opposed to online? So we can use online as a supported medium. I know that's crazy to say that everyone's saying we're focusing primarily on driving more digital commerce or mobile commerce. The focus is to see how we can use digital, but to effectively support real-world commerce.
Instead of a replacement.
Instead of a replacement, exactly. So what we do essentially is we analyze the whole customer journey, and we identify what kind of digital touch points these customers may interact with, whether it's on a website, whether it's through their smartphones, their tablets. We understand usage patterns across different mediums. We understand that iPads are used more in the mornings and in the evenings. We understand tablets have, so iPads or tablets have more usage in the mornings and evenings where people are actually sitting at home. We understand smartphone usage is sort of peak throughout the day. And we understand what kind of mediums that these consumers are using to interact with this content, and we help build the right experiences for them.
So by building that in-store experiences, you probably require some online or mobile apps, probably not. Probably you need to consider not just technology. So what are the other factors besides technology that you have to take into consideration? Can you get into more specifics about this?
I think the best way to probably explain it is by giving an example.
Okay.
So Jaguar Land Rover is one of our very large clients here in China, and we do a lot of work with them domestically. And what we do with them is essentially, again, I'm going to go back to pre-sales, sales, after sales. So our focus is very much around the ownership experience. So let's say we're all looking to buy a car. Okay, everyone's interested to buy a car. You're at that point in your life. You've graduated. You just got a wife. Whatever that is, you decided that you need to buy a car, or you need to get your wife so you need to buy a car. So you're deciding what car to buy, and you go out and try and determine where's the right place to discover how to buy a car, or what car to purchase, and where's the right location, where's the right price, and you want to learn more about that vehicle. Then when you get into the store, you actually, you want to interact, you want to build a relationship with the sales guy, you tie that into the rest of the customer journey. So you download this consumer app. Our focus is not to see how we can get awareness to this app, but let's say that you're interested to buy the Jaguar Land Rover. You're interested to buy a Jaguar or a Land Rover vehicle. How do you learn about it? So you download the app, you learn about this particular vehicle that you're interested in. You configure it, you find out where the closest dealership is, you set up an appointment, you go in for that first visit. Then as soon as you get to the dealership, what we're doing is we're geofencing all the dealerships in China. So using GPS fencing, we can track who is walking into the store. So if you have the prospective smartphone application in your pocket, as soon as you walk into a Jaguar Land Rover dealership, the sales advisor, who we've also built a tablet touchpoint for, will be able to say, "Hi, Mr. Chance. Very nice to have you here. It looks like you've been looking at XYZ. Can I get you into a car today, or can I get you to see that car today?" Then you go in and there's service tables that we're building. So you can actually just put your phone down, it'll automatically translate your experience or your configuration onto the service table, and we're using NFC to do that. And you can actually configure the car, set it up exactly how you like it. You can also get inside a car, and we're doing some really cool stuff for in-car education to learn about what's the various different features and functionality inside the car. Because if you look at a car buying process today, when you actually sit inside a car, usually the sales advisors don't really know much, they can't really tell you much, or they don't enter the car with you. And in some cases, they'll walk into the car with an iPad, and they'll say, okay, this is what the air conditioning's like, and so forth. So we're building sort of the right digital touch points in store to help drive those conversions. And let's say they're able to convert you to actually buying a vehicle. Then you can take this vehicle that you bought, you take the VIN, which is the vehicle identification number, you can enter that VIN number into your prospective app, and your prospective app unlocks to become an ownership experience. So we're able to translate that experience beyond a prospective experience to now make it an ownership experience. So when you say ownership experience, we have full cloud control of the vehicle. So all these vehicles have 3G chips. So we can access telematics data, we can turn on the car, we can turn off the car, we can access engine data. We've got a full range of ownership experiences. You're one click into your car. It's everything that you would want as an owner of that particular vehicle. So this is your third-party roadside assistance, it's your insurance data, it's your service history, it's absolutely everything through one click directly through the device. And that directly ties you in and connects you to the after-sales and service process. So they can send you reminders for when you need to send your car in for service. They can send you a reminder when the service bays have more availability, so you can get a discount if you bring your car in that particular time. And again, if you drive your car into the service center, again, we have geofenced the service center, so you can drive in and we will automatically recognize if it's the driver who also has a login, or if it's the owner, and he can drive the vehicle in, and he can view all of his service history, he can access all of his service data while he's waiting for his car to be serviced. So we're tying in the entire customer journey. We're tying in all aspects of the customer's interactions and touch points with the brand. And thus, we are allowing the customer to feel more connected to the brand and allow him to interact with that brand in any form or manner. In the automotive business, there's always been a disconnect between OEMs and dealer groups. The OEMs have never really owned the customers. The dealer groups have owned the customers because the dealerships are selling to the customers. So here we're allowing the OEMs to directly jump the bridge of the dealer groups and own those customers as well, and make sure that their dealerships are also offering the right type of service. So I don't know if that answers your question, but it's an example of how we're trying to tie in all the aspects of the customer journey.
Yeah, I had a little technical question. Is that a product that you build or something that you're trying to build or something?
It's already built. It's already built. It's already built.
Wow. That's sounds like a freaking sophisticated, software to me, because I'm an engineering guy. So can you explain more detail how technically, in terms of engineering work and how much man-month you put into this entire role?
So whenever we look at this, and especially when you're doing work on the enterprise side, or when you're interacting with CRM databases and so forth, we don't want to displace any of their existing infrastructure, because 99 or more chances than not, they've actually built that infrastructure because it added value towards their organization. But the problem is they haven't realized how to utilize that value in a connected manner. Organizations today operate in very siloed manners, right? So you've got your marketing teams doing something, you've got your sales teams doing something, you've got 100 different sales funnels, like all people are trying to find ways to drive conversions. You've got your advertising teams doing something, you've got your after-sales teams doing something. And they've all probably had their own IT budgets and their own, guidelines for their own returns and KPIs. And as a result, they've tried their best in every possible way to make this brand successful or to make their department successful. But as a result of politics, as a result of fragmentation, as a result of so many different things within an organization, all of them have done disconnected pieces of work. So if you take a holistic view of how you can tie that together and build an interconnected approach that seamlessly ties in departments, our approach is to work with the right departments post the discovery process and not displace any of the existing infrastructure. So if you were to look at, this is one database, this is another database, and this is another database, right? And this is your CRM, this is your dealer management system, this is your service history. Each one of these has different data points and schemas and fields and so forth. How can we build sort of a cloud infrastructure that pulls the data in, which can then connect to the client-side apps? So we don't actually need to build anything new. In some cases, you can just leverage the entire infrastructure. So our focus is not really around rebuilding the IT infrastructure. It's around what kind of experience from a client-facing perspective or, let's say, employee perspective, enterprise perspective, can help tie that journey together.
So from a software engineering point of view, you just be aware that tying all the departments that silo database together.
Correct.
And on top of that, we use the entire concept of service integration from cycle of user experience.
Correct. So tying that user experience together based on how we believe and how can we help reduce the friction. So we have something called the friction coefficient, and we always believe how can we bring down the friction coefficient to a value of 1, which is perfect, so 0 friction, standard principles of physics. And we believe that there's so many points of friction. So we identify all those points of friction across the customer journey, and then we build a user experience that can tie them together with a goal to bring down the friction. And from an engineering point of view, it's actually not that complicated, but because of just the way organizations work, usually this process takes months. It's been 9 months since we've started the discovery, and we're just getting ready to launch now. There's a lot of pilots going on, so maybe launch next year.
So how many engineers exactly put into this case for this particular project for Jaguar and Rover?
On our side, it wasn't actually that large. We had a team of 7 on the iOS side, and we had 2 QAs, PMs, just a team of about 10 on our end for the engineering side. And then we had a client-facing team, which is around 3 people on the account servicing, project management, and so forth. So it's not a very large team, but it's a long duration, and there's large discovery processes because we have to understand the business, we have to understand their systems, we have to understand their current journeys. So discovery, actually, which is the largest part, is a very long process and a very costly process, and we charge good money for that. It's normally 3 months just to try and define the journey. So we spend a lot of time in planning. Tremendous amount of time in planning, but that planning allows us to build the right solution.
So how long did it take you from the very start to first release of the software system? Obviously, it has to be longer than 3 months.
We have a very agile approach to everything. We have sprints and so forth. We sprints about 3 weeks. We went into about 5 sprints before we actually launched the first version. That was more client-heavy with no integration, or that was more client-side with no integrations. So it was a couple months before we were able to launch something. But before that, we did a lot of interactive prototypes because post-discovery sessions, the biggest thing that most stakeholders want to see is they want to actually hold something. They want to see what this is going to look like. They want to touch it, feel it. So more interactive prototypes in the beginning, and then the goal is to refine that along the process. It's very, very strong services business.
So besides the mobile app, I assume that you're going to use mobile app for supporting service. And are there any data reporting tools that you want to do at the same time to clients?
So we have something really cool. We've been working on this for a very long time. And there's a number of companies in the US who have already done this very successfully. It's for Wi-Fi tracking. And so one of the things we realized is we were building this great customer journey based on our own experience, based on what we thought would make sense, based on what we thought would help drive conversions. But we had no way to verify it. We had no way to actually say that we have helped you improve your business, we've helped you drive X number of millions of dollars in sales. We had no way to verify that. So we started doing a lot of research, and we found a number of companies that were building Wi-Fi tracking type technology. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Wi-Fi tracking. So if you look at a retail outlet, actually, here. So, this is my bag of goodies. So we built a couple of these. Basically what you can do with this is if you have a dealership or any particular retail outlet, you can install 4 of these. These are Wi-Fi nodes, and we can set these nodes up. They're really beautiful. These are standard nodes. We actually haven't built these. These are just on the open mesh protocol. So you can take this Wi-Fi node, you need to plug one of the nodes into an Ethernet socket, and the rest of the nodes will then automatically connect. And what we can do with this is we can identify a user's location inside a building, down to about 3 to 5 centimeters. And it's actually something we've been working on for a little while. So what we could do with this is we could essentially, if this is the dealership, we could set up these 4 nodes inside a dealership. And when a customer was to walk and identify exactly where they are inside the dealership. And we set up 2 different types of structures. So for known devices is for unknown devices. So known devices for all the digital touch points that we built, and all the sales advisors and after sales advisors tablet applications. So we could actually track it. You can refer this as the Google Analytics for the real world, right? So you can set these nodes up inside any outlet. We can set this up in this particular restaurant, this bar, and we could track how many customers came in, not only what footfall you have, but actually where they spent their time. So we could track that I'm going to end up sitting here for the next 40 minutes, 30 minutes. Everyone else hung out near the bar. We could see who was, the biggest drinkers. We could see who was hanging out by the food and who was the most hungry. We could track all of that data.
So it's like a geospatial analytics of the people.
Correct, which is very, very exciting because we can essentially build the same type of analytics that we have online, but bring it to the offline world. And that's very exciting for us because we can use that to help us directly correlate success. So we have now, actually, if you go to any dealership at Jaguar Land Rover right now, you can't see these, but they're already installed. And they will track everything that you do inside the dealership. They'll be able to track how long you spend in the store. They'll be able to actually track if you're a returning visitor or not. They'll be able to track conversions, track hotspots. And it's very exciting because we are now able to get all of this data, which will set the base framework. So when we install our digital touchpoints, we can help showcase what kind of success our digital touchpoints have had. Then we can leverage big data to essentially take a lot of that back and understand if we were successful or not and how we can improve the experience.
What if I'm one of the business website, and what if my whatever device, Wi-Fi device I'm carrying is not connected to Jaguar Land Rover's network?
So you don't have to be connected to the network. As long as your Wi-Fi is on, we can ping you because your device is always pinging for Wi-Fi, right? So as soon as you log on, if you have Wi-Fi on your device, you're constantly scanning for an open network, and it's eating a lot of your battery as a result. But most people don't turn their Wi-Fi off. If you turn your Wi-Fi off, we have no way to track it. So we can't do anything about that.
Turn your Wi-Fi off.
Yeah, there's a lot of privacy concerns here, but I think when people realize that the value that this can bring to them, so for example, we can use this for targeted messaging. So for example, if I can understand that Chance is hanging out over this particular vehicle, and he's looked at this particular thing, the API from, this is called CBT, the Customer Behavior Tracker, can identify exactly what you've been looking at and help on the iPad or on that Surface table deliver targeted content for you, right? So it can turn that experience into an experience that matches your expectations, not a generic experience that matches everyone's expectations.
So it means that the entire system has to happen, or the data flow has to happen in real time or near real time.
Correct.
Impressive.
So, I mean, we're very excited about this. These are really cheap. It's 100 RMB for a node. Capital expenditure, CapEx is very, very low for anyone who wants to deploy this. Per dealership, they're spending like 500 to 600 RMB for deploying this kind of stuff based on the size of the dealerships. And we are selling our solution as a software-based service for access to all the data that goes behind it.
So we've been giving it a hosted solution.
It's a hosted solution.
Do you make that hardware too?
No, we don't make the hardware. You can use, and actually you can buy your own hardware. Any hardware that's on the open mesh protocol, we can configure.
And what about merging this data from the internet, these cookies from a massive tracking system? You understand the question, right?
Sure.
The customer can experience the same show us from online. And you depend on listening. People listen, for example, to the site, stuff, CRM,
Sure.
this stuff. How conversion?
That's the sort of interesting thing we're working on right now, because online there's so much data and there's so many ways for tracking that customer through his journey and through his experience online. We are exploring what's the right way to pare that down. The reason is it's very challenging to identify that particular customer as a unique customer or as an individual based on certain characteristics. So we're able to do that if they download our application.
Yes.
So they download our application, they give us certain data points like their name, their email, or something. We can compare that to something through the CRM database. But if we don't have that data, it's hard. So we're actually looking at this technology today as a foundation to start tracking overall customer experience inside retail outlets, but it's never been tracked before. And we can see how to enhance that functionality by tying online and offline from an analytics perspective in the future. So it's one of the things we're working on. We haven't got a solution for it yet. But it's exciting. I mean, that's sort of a real win if we can do that. So whether they're browsing online or whether they're browsing on their phone or browsing on their tablet, if you can identify that customer in some sort of a way to tie them in and then translate that experience when they get into the real world, that's very exciting.
You can automate good service.
Yeah.
More question?
Yeah, sure. A couple more technical questions, but maybe they lead to sort of a business strategy question as a follow-up. So a couple of things. One is you mentioned using NFC when you put down your phone on some kind of surface. Why do you need that if you already know that the customer is in the store and you already have a connection to his app? And the second question, very similar, the customer having to type in the VIN of the car they just bought when you already know that because it's in the sales database.
Sure. So the first question, this is actually very new. So we just built this as a result of our discovery on the service side. We realized that there was no way for us to track and measure our conversions or any sort of return based on what we're selling. So this is very new. So we haven't actually tied this into everything else that we're working on. It's still in progress. On the second side, entering the VIN number, it would be the same as the customer having to enter that VIN number himself, right?
It's not like you were saying the customer enters the VIN number, right? My point is you don't need to do that.
Yeah, your point is it would be the same as the sales advisor borrowing his phone and having to convert him by typing in his VIN number. I think your point is how can we seamlessly make that happen through the infrastructure that we have built, correct?
Oh, but I was just asking why is it necessary because you already have made the connection to the customer's app, you know who they are, and you know that they bought. Because presumably that's
an idealistic approach. Again, I mean, a lot of this is not as seamless as it sounds. A lot of this, we don't have that data for all elements, right? Like that's an ideal scenario where we've got CBT deployed, we have the customer has actually installed the prospective app, has entered his credentials into the prospective app, and then, you know, on the same side, the CRM database on the dealer management system is being able to match that. That doesn't happen very easily.
So that's actually really impressive then, because what you're saying is this is a fallback for when the IT integration didn't work properly. And I'm actually very impressed how you spin that into something positive, like some additional cool technology that you're offering. Is that sort of a conscious process where you come up with ways of figuring out wrapping it so that it sounds positive, or where does that come from? It's very cool.
Yeah, I mean, the positive, let's say psychological approach there is you can enter your VIN number and you unlock into a magical experience, right? So it's almost like you're triggering your own happiness, you're triggering your own next step or your next level of satisfaction. And a lot of that has to be done because IT systems are just it's a headache. I mean, it's a pain in the ass the way these guys have built a lot of the infrastructure. And again, I don't think any of them have done it because of the wrong desires. It's just as a direct result of too many people working independently and trying to achieve various different KPIs which tie into the overall success. And Jaguar Land Rover is not an unsuccessful business. You know, when we started working with them, they said, we can't do this with you. And I was like, why? Because they're like, we have too many other operational basic problems to handle. We're selling too many cars than we can staff dealerships. And when we started working with them, we sat down with HR. They were like, we're hiring 250 people this quarter. 2,500 people this quarter. It was a month. It was something ridiculous. And he's like, we just don't have the ways to actually get this done. So, and we have nobody who can champion this on our end to support your discovery, to support your deployment, because unless someone champions it on the client side, we can't be successful. We keep saying this is how you should do it, but someone actually has to say on the other side, I get it, and I understand the vision, and I will fight for you in the organization, and make sure that this works, and make sure the sales guys understand it, the marketing guys understand it, the IT guys understand it. And the IT guys are some of the hardest guys to work with because, I mean, as IT guys, we all think we know everything, so. And we don't want to be open for change because whatever we've built is supposedly the best thing in the world, and it's the sexiest thing in the world, and we don't understand how this can add value to us. So IT is usually the biggest sort of barrier in most cases. So, you know, we have to convert that into a positive experience somehow.
Yeah, it seems like giving services to help companies to acquire customers, right? Looks like a very big category, and that also coincides with what my company is doing. I'm wondering what pushed you to this, to this focus as of today.
We're doing a lot of cool glass work, which is exciting. We're doing really cool work with wearables, and there's some really cool, very forward-looking clients who are very excited about the possibilities of leveraging the data points across customer journeys and using that data to help streamline and better their offerings. So we've pivoted numerous times, but you never really know if it's the right decision. Sometimes you just have to make it. And we said, hey, it's the right time, it feels right, and we followed our gut instinct and we went with it.
So it sounds like logos, from what you share with us on the time page, Jaguar and logo, talk about big data and what particular strategy that your team have over using big data to support your customers.
Sure. So when we look at data, we look at data again in a very holistic manner, and we see what points there are for data gathering. And we look at what points they have today for data gathering versus what points we can build for them to help streamline that data gathering process. And our approach is to see, again, how we can tie in these experiences. So what kind of data points can help us improve the overall experience? Big data is, I guess just a terminology that everybody's using today for leveraging data in the right way, right? And leveraging the data that organizations gather in an effective manner to help drive deeper engagements and conversions. I guess one of I can give you another example. One of our clients is HSBC, and we're doing some really fun stuff for HSBC. HSBC came to us like 2 years ago, and they said, not 2 years ago, sorry, a year ago, and they said, we want to build a groundbreaking experience that's going to revolutionize the mobile banking and mobile category within banking. We said, okay, what do we do? And we went out and we did competitive analysis against all the banking apps and understood that if you look, even still today, except the HSBC app, which I think is the coolest one in the store, all the banking apps are essentially statements. It's essentially taking your traditional paper statement and putting it onto a tablet app And China's a little bit more advanced in the last 6-7 months because of Weixing, service integration, that kind of stuff. But traditionally, tablet applications have not added any real value, right? They're just essentially taking traditional statements and put them online. So we said, how do we build a groundbreaking experience that will change users' expectations, change users' experiences, so that they actually believe that this bank is a bank that cares about me. This bank is one that I want to bank with for the rest of my life. It's a bank that I want my wife to bank with. It's a bank that I want my kids to bank with. And we created an experience which was around goal tracking and career planning. So everyone in this room is at a different point in their lives. You may be running a startup. You may be married. You may have kids. You may be looking to have kids. You may be looking to buy your first house, to buy your first car, to buy your second house, to exit your first company, whatever that is. Everyone has a different position in their particular life, and usually that position is tied into their age group. So if you're 18 to 20, 21, you're probably going through school. 21 to 23, you're trying to figure out what you want to do with your life. You're getting your first job. And everyone has a different career path or a life path. And that particular life path is one that they have determined for themselves. And how can we help them achieve their various different goals across their life? So whether you're a student, or whether you're a fresh graduate, or whether you are, you just got married, how does HSBC as a bank deliver an experience to you that translates into an experience that you believe is truly valuable, and you want to continue to bank with them? So what we did is we built in goal trackers and career planners. So you could essentially lay out your entire life, and you could say by the age, I'll give you an example. For me, I said by the age of 35, I wanted to get into the investor space, and I wanted to start investing in companies as opposed to launching my own. Prior to that, I wanted to launch my own consumer product startup. Before that, I wanted to be in the service space. And everyone may have their own particular paths in life. So you could actually lay out your particular milestones of success as an individual. So what points in your life, or what milestones of success will make you feel that you have achieved what you set out to achieve? And then what kind of goals do you have against those milestones? So, for example, one of the things I may want to do if I get married is have my first kid, and then have my kid go to college, or plan a vacation for my family. And let's say that's going to cost me a certain amount of money. So I should be able to plan how much money I need to save for that particular milestone, that particular goal. So let's say I need to fly my family to Panama for a holiday. I need to spend $1,000 on flights, $1,500 on hotels, $1,000 on experiences and travel and this kind of stuff. So that's going to cost me $3,500. And that's for me, my wife, and my kid. How do I afford that? Like, is there a way for me to be able to afford that, or to plan it 3 months from now or 6 months from now? Will I have enough liquidity? Is my net worth going to allow me to support that travel, that experience? So directly through the application, you can download the app. It's on the store. It's the HSBC app for your Premier customers and Advanced Plus customers. You can set up this entire life cycle, and you can essentially plan your entire life. And then the bank will give you suggestions along the way on what type of options you should invest into, what kind of packages, what kind of services. Their sales advisors can help you make sure that you achieve your goal and make sure you achieve your life path. And this is actually translated in a much broader way. After we built this, they've given us 15 other projects. It's been big. So we've actually done their ATM designs now. We're working on some user experience with the web. So we're tying in all of their experiences across all of the digital touchpoints, which is very exciting.
Very exciting. So, do you offer any integration with mobile, the ATM with mobile integration?
No.
Because I hate ATM. I hate ATM experience, so maybe someone will make it better.
If you have any ideas, I'd love to do a ticket for it.
while we're at it, so I have a fantastic idea for a feature for the app and for the website. It would be so nice if I could just make a wire transfer without going crazy.
Sure.
So, is that something that app does, or is it focused on sort of the more lofty stuff that?
It's more focused around the user experience. Broader than that, that's more of a security challenge for making sure that beneficiaries are properly verified before money is spent. Biggest thing working with this business that we've learned is we actually haven't been able to do any of the iOS engineering. Everything is being built in HTML5 with RESTful APIs, and we pass it to their team and they do the integrations. We haven't been allowed to touch any of their systems, and it's a very political debate and very complicated debate because security guys are arguing one thing, user experience guys are arguing something else, IT guys are arguing something else.
So you're outside of the core business of actually handling money and day-to-day experience that
you can do that through the application. But it's still using very traditional manners. Yes, you have to set up a beneficiary.
Do you have an HSBC account?
Yeah, I do.
Do you know what I mean?
Oh, it's a pain in the ass. We're HSBC customers. That's why we, when we looked at the experience they had in the past, we said we have to make this better. And there is some business process challenges that you can't overcome day one. But we will be able to overcome that in due course.
So basically, it sounds like the conversation went like this. We can make the banking experience better. Let us do it. And then you kind of figured out that they wanted to actually let you to the transactional part of the banking, and then you did something else outside of that, and now you're hoping to get at some point to gain enough of the trust that you can actually improve the app that really shapes the experience, which is, the day-to-day stuff you do with your bank. I want to log in without going crazy. I want to be able to make a wire transfer without going crazy. And that just like totally eclipses for me everything else that the bank does, because that's what people do.
Well, if
they're not making a payment.